Hi, I'm Lee Jones, and I'm presenting our work on free little art galleries. Here I'll be discussing the insights that HCI and design researchers can learn from this movement. This work was done with my collaborators at Queen's University and Ingenium, Canada's Museums of Science and Innovation. So what are free little art galleries, also known as flags? Free little art galleries, or flags for short, are participatory miniature art exchanges. They popped up at the edges of lawns during the pandemic when many arts organizations and art galleries were closed. They look a lot like little free libraries and aim to encourage a similar take one, leave one type of exchange. The difference here is that instead of exchanging books, individuals exchange miniature artworks. Flags provided an accessible and creative activity when most art institutions were closed. And by the time we ran our study, many art institutions and art organizations had taken on the format as well, due to how increased accessibility during the strange time of the pandemic. It also provided a more tangible way to interact with art. In this paper, we interviewed 20 curators of free little art galleries, 8 of which were run by or with the support from arts organizations, to better understand this emerging DIY phenomenon. So why should we study flags in the context of HCI? When looking at the flag format, we saw a lot of the activities that we do with participants, things that will be familiar to folks that research in the area of creativity and cognition. For example, activities like having participants sketch out ideas for ideation, or working with miniature samples or scale models for rapid prototyping. We also do a lot of crafting activities with our participants to explore how they would like to design their own devices and how they can do so in self-expressive ways. But flags aren't just relevant to HCI, but also design in general. For example, scale models and miniatures are used in many design fields for communicating ideas. For example, the scale models used in architecture, or the scale models used in furniture design, interior design, automotive design, exhibition design, theater scenography, and fashion design, just to name a few. Miniatures also help us during prototyping by saving time, money, and materials, and they enable us to more rapidly iterate on ideas. Overall, we saw the flag format as enabling us to bring those creative making and prototyping activities that we do with participants and to bring them out of the lab and into the environments where people live. Researchers and cultural institutions often struggle with engaging audiences outside of their physical space, and these relatively low-cost miniature exchanges could provide an opportunity to bring the space to new audiences and encouraging visitors to engage in participatory and creative ways. In this study, we want to understand the tasks involved in starting and maintaining a flag, and asked interview participants to reflect on their experience running these long-term deployments. Through the analysis of these interviews, we contribute practical recommendations and guidelines that HCI researchers can use in research. In this paper, we unpack the unique characteristics of managing these tangible deployments. Overall, this paper has 2 main contributions. The first one is introducing HCI researchers to the free little art gallery format. Our findings provide a summary of the aims, goals, benefits, opportunities, and challenges of free little art galleries, and how these participatory installations function. Second is providing recommendations and next steps for HCI. We provide recommendations for HCI researchers on how they can use the flag format to expand community participation in research projects. You can read more details on our findings from the interviews in our paper, but here I'll summarize our 5 recommendations for flags. Choose a location with returning traffic. For example, individuals or organizations could team up with their local library, school, community center, or anywhere individuals visit and return to regularly, such as once a week or once a day. Participants with flags in high traffic locations without returning traffic, such as tourism destinations, had to restock and spend more time maintaining the flag so that it wasn't left bare. Design for your climate and local bylaws. Participants described how their flag structures had to be able to withstand the outdoor environments where they were located. Before installing a permanent flag, for example with an in-ground post, it's also important to ensure that the area is free of any utility lines, for example running underneath, and that your neighborhood doesn't have any bylaws against installing items in your desired location. Design for exchange. Many of our participants started out with loose items that they considered permanent to the inside of the gallery. Items like easels, plinths, or mini patrons. They later on discovered that individuals misinterpreted these loose items as part of the exchange, despite having signs warning about this. To design for this and better prepare for these types of interactions, we recommend that caretakers don't invest or include items that they don't want to be part of the exchange. Another alternative is making these movable items permanent to the gallery by, for example, drilling them in place. Provide a redundancy of instruction. Our participants use several visual methods to describe and instruct individuals on how to interact with the exchange. They did this through the title of the exchange, signage describing how to interact with it, visual cues within the gallery to highlight that the exchange was for miniature art, and stalking the gallery to get the exchange started. Flags are a new concept, and our participants often use more than one type of instruction method to help individuals comprehend it. Our last one is to recruit a team. Our participants highlight that their galleries need a sitter when they were away. For example, when our participants went on vacation, they would recruit their neighbors or friends to watch their gallery and keep it stocked during their trip. We recommend that research groups and design teams work collaboratively to take care of a flag, to ensure that it's kept stocked, but also to lessen the workload of maintaining it. We then discuss the next steps and opportunities for HCI. We see the flag format as providing an opportunity for providing specific research prompts, encouraging individuals to make and create for techno-ideation activities. For example, for asking individuals to ideate on topics such as the future of smart homes. In this way, we could take many of the design probe activities, which often involve creative making in response to prompts, and bring those to the communities we want to better understand. Crafting materials and toolkits are often used in participatory design. And since flags are essentially open display cases with built-in storage, they're really suited to accommodating toolkits and making them readily available for people who want to use the display. Our participants discussed the way that providing art supplies would make flags more accessible, and as researchers, we could provide these materials as part of the exchange. This would lessen or remove the burden of participants having to use their own materials to participate. In bringing research outside the lab, the flag format might also support ideation activities as citizen science initiatives. This could include things like recruiting flag curators to have themes or research prompts. But in doing so, we have to make sure that we consider research ethics and participant consent, and how individuals know that by participating in the exchange, they are also participating in research. Finally, we reflect on the way that flags were interlinked with online communities. For example, though they were installed for their neighbors and their local community, many flags also had an online presence and communities where individuals could follow them and they could follow other flags, as well as options where individuals could physically mail in their art if they couldn't visit in person. Participants were also excited about flag directories where individuals could look up flags to visit and locate them as cultural destinations. These many linkages between these tangible installations and our virtual connected world could be further expanded upon by including the making process. For example, our curators enjoyed learning about their neighbors through their crafts and how people contributed to the flag. And so maybe we can explore in further work how we can include the process in the tangible objects, either through links or numbers on the artwork. To sum up, in this paper we aim to better understand flags by providing insights from interviews with 20 curators on what it was like maintaining these types of deployments. From these insights, we have developed recommendations and next steps for how HCI and design researchers can bring these lessons into their research projects. We hope the flag format can provide inspiration and enable more participatory making and techno-ideation activities with broader audiences outside the lab.